Hi everyone. Well, it looks like the lock actuators in my 2000 Ford Expedition are just about to give up the ghost, so I think it's time to swap them out for new ones. I've already successfully done the passenger rear door, and now I'm going to tackle the left one and document it for you folks, so hopefully you'll have a little easier time than I have. First things first, let's remove the ashtray. Press down on that tab there, and the whole assembly should come out. Next, you want to pull up the window switchgear. Should just be able to pry it up by hand. Shouldn't need any special tools for this. Then, while pressing in the black tab here on the electrical connector, remove the switchgear. This is definitely going to take two hands and a bit of rocking back and forth. Be sure to pull from the light gray piece here rather than the trim piece, or else that may come off. Then next you'll want to remove the trim piece behind the door handle. So pull out the door handle and the piece should just pop out without too much trouble. And next you'll need to remove the interior door handle, which is held on by just one screw. That one will come off with an 8mm socket. Then finally you move down to the bottom of the door panel and remove the two Phillips screws right here and here. Now the interior door panel is held on by almost like hooks in the back. So once the ashtray, the window switchgear, the door handle, and the two screws at the bottom have been removed, you should be able just to yank up on the panel and pull the whole thing off. And first order of business after removing the interior panel is to remove the speaker, which is held on by 4 6mm screws, one here, and two underneath. You can almost see right there. There we go. And once the speaker has been removed, you'll see there's just one electrical connector to disconnect to get the whole assembly off. You'll see the black tab there, if I can focus. Just press that and the whole connector should just slide off. Now comes time to remove the interior door handle mechanism. There are a couple parts here to remember. This clip here, you'll see that the bar attached to it is threaded. You may want to mark on either side, like with probably like a black Sharpie or something like that, to make sure that you're getting it back in the right position, because you'll see once you flip this little tab up, is that it's adjustable. You may not get it right back in the same spot and it won't feel quite right. So I'd recommend marking that. Once you've done that and remove the bar from this space, there'll just be one 8mm bolt to come out, and then the whole mechanism should slide out this way. Now you'll see your work area is a little obscured by this gray matting here. All you have to do is just peel that back. It will eventually go back into place once a little coercion afterward, and should stick well enough to get the door panel back on. And the next bit to come off is the trim piece around the child lock. Again, nothing special. Should just be able to pry it off without too much trouble. Right now, peering into the hole where the child lock is, you can see toward the back there's one of the screws that we need to remove the outer door handle, but the lock mechanism in the way. So we will first have to remove the door latch, which is removed simply by removing these 3 T27 Torx screws. Then once that's loose, you'll be able to slide the whole mechanism down and make it so you can get to the nuts holding on the exterior door handle. With the door latch mechanism moved out of the way, you should be able to access the two nuts holding on the exterior door handle. One focusing on right now, and the other just to the right through this hole. See if I can focus on it there for you. And those can be removed with a 10mm socket. And with the two 10mm nuts removed, you should be able to press out at the bottom here of the exterior door handle and it should pop out. With the handle loose, now we can pull it out. And you'll see now there's another one of those adjustable connectors right here. I'll get in a little bit closer that just gets pried up with this green tab right here. But just to help yourself out when reinstalling, make a mark where the green tab meets the metal arm there, and you'll get a closer adjustment to how it originally was when you go to replace it. And we can also feast our eyes on the lock actuator right down here. Now we need to drill out two rivets. One down here, which is where the lock actuator is attached, and up over here, where the manual lock button is. This one needs to be drilled out so we can move around the door latch and get the lock actuator disconnected. So a quick tip for you all on drilling out the rivets. I actually just discovered doing it this time, and thankfully so, because I did a number on the holes on the other side being inexperienced drilling out rivets. This is actually the first time I had done such a thing, so coming in onto this side, I wanted to get it right, and I just kind of stumbled onto this. So as you can tell, or as you've seen before, each rivet is made up of an outer collar and a pin in the center. I can focus on that. I think you'll get best results if you thwack the pin from the outside with, this is a 3/8 center punch. Give that a good whack with a ball peen hammer, and the pin should come out, which makes drilling out the rest of the rivet far easier than having to drill through that stupid pin. Plus, it gives you the advantage, at least on the upper rivet over by the manual door lock, of saving this piece. This piece, if you don't have the name for it, or if you don't have the part number for it, is essentially unobtainium. On the other side, I had to fabricate my own solution, and it's just better if you can save that part. So thwack out the pin with a center punch, then use a 1/4-inch drill bit to get it all the way out. You'll find that maybe the head will spin on you because it'll get caught on the drill bit. Just use a pair of vice grips to keep it in place, and you should be able to drill it out the rest of the way. So 2 more steps before you can remove the lock actuator. One is to remove the gray electrical connector from the bottom, as I've already done, and another is to pry off the wire going farther up to the lock from the bracket that's holding on the lock actuator. Now that can be done probably most easily using a pry tool, something like this, usually used for interior pieces to not break the plastic tabs that hold everything on. And to make the most of your newfound flexibility by removing the rivet over by the manual lock button, pull this bar and disconnect it from this bracket right here. Alright, now that everything is all freed up, we should be able to pull the latch mechanism out through the handle hole here and separate the lock actuator, this little SOB, from the rest of the lock mechanism. You'll see that it's hooked in, so that was actually why we had to remove the rivet over by the manual door lock button to make sure that we could free up this whole assembly a bit easier. So pull this out through the door handle and unhook the door actuator from it. Now, before attaching the new lock actuator, I should make you aware of a, I think, valuable modification I made. So on the bottom of the clip, where it attaches to the door would normally be riveted in, I attached a number 10 by 24 nutsert, just to make this much easier the next inevitable time that this needs to be done. So using that plus a small rubber grommet around the hole in the door if you got it, that plus a probably about a 3/4 of an inch long number 10 by 24 screw should work great in this situation. And now comes the best part, being able to attach the new lock actuator and complete the digging in that we've all been struggling through this whole video. And now it's finally time for reassembly. First, I recommend putting the door latch back where it should be, just finger tight in with the 3 bolts that hold it in place. Just finger tight because you'll need to remove it here in a few minutes to reattach the exterior door handle. But putting that back in place makes it easier to reposition the door actuator, the little clip that holds it on, as well as to place this bar back in its little clip, and as well as reattaching the manual door lock button. And a quick note on reassembly in the sake of maintaining serviceability. If you're able to preserve this piece, you should just be able to use a 1/4 inch bolt and a 1/4 inch, ideally, lock nut, so it won't back off during repeated unlocking and locking motions. If you weren't able to preserve the white piece here, I found that a grommet with a 1/2 inch inner diameter combined with a spacer that is a 1/2 inch outer diameter, 1/4 inch inner diameter put together, that works in place of this, because as I said, the white piece is difficult to come by. Unless you all have an easier way of finding it online than I did, then you may just be able to replace it. Alright, and once the lock actuator is in place, along with the quote-unquote rivet for the manual door lock, you'll want to unscrew the door latch one more time, attach the exterior door handle, and button everything back up in the reverse order, and that should get everything going for you. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to help you out. Thanks for watching.